Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, wow. Are we already talking about Sagittarius season? My goodness. Here we are. Sagittarius season, the season of that last bit of fire for the year. Expansion of the mind, expansion of ideas, that Christmas season or whatever you celebrate season. Hi, if you're just joining me, we're talking about Sagittarius season, and we're going to be talking about it for a little bit here. Let me make sure I have my notes. If you don't have your Planetary Planner, it's okay. You can order one for next year, and that link is in my profile. If you do have your Planetary Planner, you can open up to your Sagittarius season pages. And so in general, let's talk just Sagittarius season, and then we'll go into these eclipses, because that's really what we're here for. That's what we're here for. I mean, of course, we're talking about Sag season, but we also want to learn what these eclipses are going to bring for us personally. So if you don't know about this group, I am going to actually, hold on 1 minute. I'm doing, that's really strange. Okay, who is this? Oh, I know who this is. Okay, so if you're just coming into the group, I'm gonna guess that that's you, Caitlin, and if it's not you, let me know. But this is a group that I do. We do it monthly, and this year, coming into 2021, we start at the solstice and we go all the way through, and it's the group is called Solar Powered. Last year, it didn't have a focus as much. It had a focus. It was going over each astrological season, so to speak, and then we look at each individual's chart. So this year is coming into the next year, it will shift a little bit. The main difference is going to be the structure of that time period. But for tonight, what I typically do is I give the astrology for everybody, and then I come off of the live and I come off of Instagram, and then I do individual charts for everybody in the group. And what we're doing is we're looking at where the new and the full moon are hitting that person's chart, that degree in their chart, and what might be coming up around wanting healing, wanting clarity, wanting focus, wanting opportunities to be seen. And we know we can't really heal anything in our lives until we can see it, right? And so that's the biggest step. See it and then feel it. And that's the other huge step. So we're talking about Sagittarius season, which runs from November 21st to December 21st. If you're interested in our next round of Solar Powered, before I get started, click the link in my profile and you can learn about that program with all of us. It's going to be a group program, and it goes through each astrological season. The difference is going to be more, because I get a little tired of talking about each season so directly, and I've studied astrology for so long that next year's is going to dig in a little bit deeper to just like the theme for that season, and then at the end we will, of course, still do charts and still do discussion around it, but I need to change it up a little bit and dig in a little bit deeper with the healing work for 2021. That's what I have been given. So Sagittarius season starts in a couple days here, and the themes are learning, socializing, new ideas, freedom from restrictions, debating ideas, which we're all kind of in this place, travel, learning a new language, exploration, interchanging ideas, interchanging, opportunities and different job opportunities and different teaching opportunities or different learning opportunities. That's all a part of Sagittarius season. And I'm going to talk more about that when I get into the eclipses, but I just want to say that Sagittarius is the final fire. It's mutable fire, and mutable fire is the most tricky fire that there is, because it changes form, and it's meant to change form, and it's meant to really be able to come in and change our whole ideas about things. And so it's a beautiful thing when we do feel stuck, or it's a beautiful thing when we do feel like we've kind of run out of opportunities, or run out of, when we're in Scorpio season, it's a beautiful healing time, and we dig in so deep, and it's such a creative time. But there can be this feeling right now at the end of Scorpio season where we're like, okay, it's really intense, like things can lighten up a little bit, and then comes in that mutable fire and really does lighten things. Now, that being said, there is this thing with Sagittarius nature that can be a little bit like too many ideas, too much information coming at you. And so we do need to be aware of that and not like get swung into like the ADD type personality. And so really making sure that your higher vision is set to something and that you're sticking with your goals to wrap up 2020, to wrap up the year. Fire's transformation and curiosity. And this mutable fire is really about focusing on a goal and sticking with it. So wherever Sagittarius is in your chart, whatever house or houses it occupies, that's where the sun, our consciousness, is going to be shining onto that area in your chart. And so because of that, it helps to know where that is and the focus of that house or houses, because it will show you where you're going to have the most success focusing on. So stay open to new opportunities, to new possibilities coming in this next month. But most importantly, stay open within yourself to being okay with changing your mind, being okay with expanding your awareness and seeing things differently than maybe you saw them before, missing pieces of the puzzle coming into awareness. And because it is represented by the Archer, really understanding that we have to let go in order to take off. And so that's a big part of Sagittarius season, is releasing those last little bits of 2020, releasing those last little bits of this year. And it's still fall time until December 21st. And this very last bit of fall is like burning the burn pile of the compost. And it can be stinky sometimes. And it's really important to make that space for what's to come in 2021. So let's talk about the lunar eclipse on November 30th. All my notes on this eclipse. So it's a partial eclipse, but it is a powerful lunar eclipse. So powerful indeed that we want to be really aware of our mind, body, and spirit at this time. We want to rein it in a little bit. Set some plans. Like, I know I have a child with a Gemini Moon that is very sensitive to the moon, and so we came up with a plan for him, that kind of thing. Because here's the deal. Moon in Gemini is busy. It's active. And this is a lunar eclipse that is clearing out, and it's not so close. So it's a partial eclipse. So that means it's not so close to the nodes. The nodes of the moon are in North Node and Gemini, which is where collectively we're meant to go, like move into at this time. It's an 18-month cycle. The moon is our emotional security, our emotional well-being, our intuition, our deepest needs and desires. And so when our deepest needs and desires are set to where we're all meant to go, it can be a little overwhelming. And we're kind of in a wonky, because it's a mutable cycle. And I mentioned before, Sagittarius is a mutable sign. Mutables are changing. They're changing. They change things. If we haven't noticed, 2020 changed things. And we are still in that cycle until the North Node moves into Taurus, which is not going to happen until 2022. So we are in this change. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the same intensity as 2020. I do believe we're going to graduate into a new level of different crazy and different intensity. However, where we're all meant to go together is at this lunar eclipse, there at the same place, the same sign as the moon. So our emotional security is the most vital thing in order to take us where we need to go. And Gemini is not, I'm sorry, I love all my Geminis. They're like my favorite people probably. But not super emotionally secure people. Not super, not super. They're a little bit grounded, but they're not super grounded, okay? And they have a lot of other amazing traits that I'll talk about in a minute, but because of that, we can get a little thrown off depending on where this is in your house system, how many planets you have in Gemini, how it's hitting. Maybe you have a lot of Virgo, or you have a lot of Pisces, maybe you have a lot of Sagittarius. It's going to affect everyone a little bit differently, but have a plan, for goodness sakes, especially if you have children. Have a plan if you don't have children, but you have a partner that has a lot of Gemini. And, just have a plan, because here we go. We're coming into a holiday week. And then after that holiday weekend, like where everybody's just kind of like whatever they've been doing for the holiday weekend, on November 30th, then we'll have that lunar eclipse, powerful lunar eclipse. It's at 8 degrees of Gemini. So look at where that is in your houses. And it's at 1:29 a.m. So we're really looking at the 29th as the kind of intensity point. But I'm going to be real with you all. If you're sensitive, like I am, we are just building into that point. Once we get to, I think I should probably know when good thing I have my planner. If you don't already have your order in for 2021's Planetary Planner, you might want to do that, because then you'll know when the first quarter moon is. So, the first quarter moon, funny because I know it's in here. Oh, it's on the 22nd. So that's this Sunday. From that first quarter moon in Pisces game on, intensity, plan for self-care, plan for groundedness. Now we're looking at a masculine cycle as well. As soon as the sun moves into Sag, we are in a masculine cycle, okay? So we want to bring those feminine influences to balance. So we're looking at the element of earth and water and somehow integrating that into your week. Time in nature, taking more baths, drinking more water. All those good things are going to be extra valuable to you moving into next week, and especially the end of next week. So then when the moon moves into Gemini on the 29th of November, that's really when we're going to feel that peak of intensity, okay? And it will last. Now, we are in eclipse season. Eclipses, I'm saying we're already in the eclipse energy. This eclipse cycle started at the new moon. So many of you felt like the shift in energy, this new kind of energy coming through, super positive, but also intense. And if you hadn't had a chance to go back and listen to the free webinar I did on solar power, that link is in my profile, and it's up until I think the rest of today, I said. So, and I talk about that new moon a lot, so I'm not going to go into that, but we are in eclipse season, but I'm just talking about like the height of intensity is going to be at that time. Now, also intense is when the moon is wrapping up in Taurus because of that last full moon in Taurus. And as we move into the end of November and we're moving into this lunar eclipse, that intensity is right at the holiday. So if you celebrate a holiday next week, that's when it is. So I won't go into like political stuff, but just to say that when you have a lunar eclipse, and then we're going to get a powerful solar eclipse that I'm going to talk about next, when we have that with Gemini and Sagittarius, both of those, so whenever we have the polar opposites, both Gemini and Sagittarius are about information, expansion through information, commerce through information. law and order through information or misinformation, truth and false truths, ways in which systems, Sagittarius systems, political systems, seek to create emotional commerce, emotional motivators. So this is all up. And then news and media. And one thing that I will say is, looking at this chart as well, we have Neptune over in... Shoot, I can't see my degrees because I have my setup here. We have Neptune over, I think it's 18 degrees. Neptune's at that square. Neptune is creating a T-square. Neptune moves super slow. It's super slow moving in Pisces. It's home sign. And when we're getting that square, as we're getting now, but it's going to be exact in January, which is, it's like exact almost at the exact time where we're supposed to have an inauguration, that I don't even know if that's going to happen. Just like honestly and truly. Neptune is going to be squaring the nodes in January, but it's already happening now. Like, we're already in the energy. And Neptune has to do with deception. Neptune has to do with fogginess, feeling super foggy. And one thing that's happening at the day, I think it's the day before. Yep, the day before this full moon, partial eclipse, Neptune goes direct. Neptune goes direct, and it's like, just whenever we have planets stationing retrograde or stationing direct, it literally can feel like we're moving through molasses, especially with Neptune. Also, dreams are super potent, so definitely I highly recommend drinking mugwort tea around this time. Keep a dream journal next to your bed, or you could just drink water before you go to bed, and keep a pen and paper beside your bed, and dreams are going to be lit up. So Neptune at its highest form is spiritual lubrication, like how we connect to source, how we connect to spirit. At its lowest level, it's deception. It's I'm trying to think of a gentle way to say this, but it's like poisoning our waters, which I did just read that Fukushima, they just released a bunch more into the ocean. Okay, that makes sense with the transit. But so it can have to do with deception. It can have to do with like poison, but then poison in the water. But then it can also have to do with poison in our because it's squaring the nodes, and the nodes are those information points. It can be poisoning our information, or a lot of what's that? And I just see this everywhere on every single side of political and world politics, is a lot of what's that thing that's just activates people? It's not programming, it's not called that, but it's called propaganda. And I actually I'm really grateful that I studied in college. I studied something about media relations and how the media informs and instigates situations, because I feel like that's exactly where we're in. Hi, Kavri. Oh, nice to see you on here. So tuning into our emotional security needs, tuning out to information sources that might be toxic to our energy fields. Whatever you need to know, obviously I'm not saying to not pay attention to that, but just to be aware there's going to be a lot thrown around, and it's just heating up, because the square from Neptune is all about, can you get pulled into the past, which is in Sagittarius, which I'm going to talk about the eclipse in Sagittarius next. Will you be pulled into the past, or the collective past, or will you allow yourself to be propelled into the future? And so with this lunar eclipses in general are clearing out and being made conscious of. So people from your past definitely can come into the picture, come into play, situations from your past, and also just familiar feelings. Like, I have no idea when I experienced something like this, but this feels familiar. This feels like something I've experienced before. And at the same time, since this lunar eclipse is closest to the North Node, it's also got some information for us that we need in order to move forward. So more than anything, I just recommend being in your own mind space, your own heart space, and paying less attention to what everybody else is doing. I just had this experience in the grocery store, I think it was just yesterday, where I could tell the woman in front of me, and so could the clerk that was ringing her out. We could both tell that this woman had just been watching tons of news and TV because she was just regurgitating all sorts of fear. And it definitely wasn't helpful, of course, for the lady working there, but it was really also, you could just tell she just needed to process and unload this information. And so just protecting your mental spaces and protecting your energy spaces, checking in on the people you love. Anytime there's eclipses, people choose to go out during that time. People choose to come in during that time. It is a portal. It is, some people call it like a wormhole between the two eclipses. So when we go from the full moon eclipse on November 30th in 8 degrees of Gemini into the December 14th eclipse, which is a new moon eclipse on the south node of the moon, and I'm going to talk about that next, there is this portal opened up, and typically that is when a lot of people choose to go out and come in. And I know, like, a lot of times when I talk about birth and death, some people say like that I sound detached, or I sound like not emotionally as like caring or kind, and it's just because I view it very differently than our society views it. And so because of that, I sound insensitive sometimes. But I will just say that people are leaving for a reason. There's nothing that happens without it being spiritual meaning, right? And just because I say that doesn't mean that it's not going to affect us all and not going to be an emotional experience. It is. And at the same time, we are not here to prevent death. We are not here to live forever. We are not here to numb ourselves. We're not here to not live our lives. We're here to live while we're here, and then to do our work and then go out. We are not here to prolong the inevitable. We are not here to pause. We are not here to not live. Now, I'm not saying that we don't need to protect our most sensitive people. Of course we need to do that. But just when we talk about life and death, I have a different perspective than a lot of people. And so if I offended you, I pop some bubbles on that. I'm sorry. Okay, so Uranus is also doing some stuff at this this lunar eclipse, and I'm going to move on, but it's important because the higher octave of Mercury, which rules this eclipse, which, funny enough, that today a client sent me an article, and I'll share it on here, an article about this ancient Greece in the sewer system. They found this statue of the head of Hermes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, of course Mercury's gonna show up around this lunar eclipse. And he just literally showed up, like a physical representation of him. Hermes is one and the same as Mercury. So Mercury, again, he carries a lot of that coyote medicine, and he is the trickster of the zodiac. That being said, though, he also can travel to both the light realms and the darker realms, the shadow and the source areas, and bring in all kinds of information. So that being said, that's another reason why dream work or process work or healing work at this time is going to be so helpful, because it is naturally a time where we're going to be able to process more, integrate, download, and clear. So staying open to that. So the higher octave of Mercury is Uranus. And Uranus is the sudden change maker, the sudden aha moments, like getting these from source, like even higher downloads. And sometimes it can have to do with sudden shifts and changes on planet Earth. It can have to do with clarity or new ways of seeing things. Like, I don't know about you guys, but many times during 2020, I've been like, wow, was that only a week ago? Like, I was thinking totally differently then and than I am now. And so, just like things shifting, timelines collapsing. Also, you know, like I said, with people from your past coming into your life and situations from your past coming into your life, those things coming in for lessons that you still haven't gotten yet or that you're meant to integrate into this timeline. So that's all happening. Let's see. What else do I want to say before I move on? Okay. Paying attention to relationships is going to be very vital at that lunar eclipse. So if you've been ignoring your closest relationships, it will come to a head around that time. Obviously, it's just naturally a time where we're around our people more. So doing that deep conversational work with people, getting in there and doing some healing work, it's going to be very helpful to process and grow during this time. And lastly, I'll just say, I didn't say this, but Uranus is conjunct Black Moon Lilith. And Black Moon Lilith is one of my favorites, and she's the ride or die. And she is very strong with that deep feminine energy, that powerful feminine energy that is not going to back down, that is not going to be submissive, that is not going to go away. And so because Uranus is conjunct Black Moon Lilith, and because Uranus is the only planet that will be retrograde at the lunar eclipse, this has to do with sudden shifts and changes internally to where we have maybe betrayed ourselves or not been in our full power or not asserted our power in a way that feels healthy or feels good to us. So the feminine energy is online with this lunar eclipse, even though it's mostly a masculine. On the internal, we are able to process and heal some of that feminine aspect if we want to, and to go in and do that work. Okay, so moving on to the new moon solar eclipse on the 14th of December. So this is, we're talking about Sagittarius season, the whole Sagittarius season. So I guess I should say too that the last quarter moon in Virgo on December 7th is also important. And December 7th is Pearl Harbor Day. I wouldn't, be surprised if there's things happening collectively around that time frame. And just to remember that the last quarter moon is like the PMS cycle. It's like the final release of the lunar eclipse. So that Monday, December 7th is when that's happening. Mercury will be newly into Sagittarius happening December 1st. And then we get that total solar eclipse on the 23rd degree of Sagittarius at 8:16 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So all of mine are Pacific Standard Time, just so you know. And it looks like I need to do a new share. Give me just 1 second to pop up that chart. Let's see. Hold on, guys. I've set myself up in a bad way over here. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see that chart if you're in class. Obviously not on Instagram. But. Okay. So this is the chart for... Nope, that is not the right chart. That looks like the same chart I just looked at. Here's the chart for the new moon eclipse on December 14th, 2020. Whew. Okay, wow, it's powerful. It's such a powerful eclipse. Okay. It is conjunct Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury is at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. Wow, Mercury just flies through then, because that's a 14-day. So Mercury again is very active at the new moon eclipse as well. So we're processing a lot. We are processing a lot. And the fact that Mercury is opposing that North Node in Gemini at the time of the eclipse really means that there is some deep stuff that we need to clear out of that Sagittarius house. So wherever 23 degrees of Sagittarius is for you, a deep clean is coming in and giving you the opportunity to set new, fresh intention, and to do so in a way that's going to really be like a whole new clarity coming in, a whole new way of seeing things, a whole new way of processing things. This also, because it's in the 12th house, in the like standard chart for everybody, has to do with clearing out past life trauma, oppression, systematic and political injustices for everyone. Like, and I won't go into this too much, but this whole thing that, I'm not going to do it. It's kind of political. I'm not going to do it. So we are all clearing out trauma, places where we've been able to be manipulated through fear, places where we've been able to be controlled through fear. And also, because it's a total solar eclipse, this powerful energy of the total solar eclipse comes in and just burns it all away. It's in fire. It's transformation. It has the capability to burn it all away if we choose it, if we ask for it, if we're aware and awake and not, drowning ourselves out with all sorts of other information that is going to get us off of our center, if we're, taking good care of our bodies and minds. Now, the interesting thing is we still have Mars in Aries. Mars in Aries has been there for a long time, and it's going to be there, I think it's till January. So we have a trine from Mars in Aries at 20 degrees trining this new moon. So fire, lots of fire. And looking at this, it really brings us into divine action. And divine action is when we can combine both our spiritual and, if it's religious, whatever it is, beliefs, with our actual actions and our alignment with how we move about the world. So we might have operated in the past in a way where we were like, this is how we should be and this is what we want for the world. But then in your day-to-day world, you're seeing, a homeless man on the street, and when he asks you for change, you get angry, like just that misalignment between what you want to see in the world versus how you're actually operating on a day-to-day basis. This new moon total solar eclipse brings it all into alignment, okay? So look at where 23 degrees of Sagittarius is for you. If you want extra assistance, I have some programs coming up, solar powered. Basically, I can't believe this. It's kind of hard for me to admit this because I want to fit as many people in as possible, but I am booked out until January. So the only opportunity to work with me is when Solar Powered starts on the 21st of December, which is a group program. There's the group program, and then level 2 is the group program and the one-on-one individual work. So if you're interested in that, that's a great way to get in there, and I maybe will be like sharing something on this new moon eclipse to assist, because I just feel like I want to be able to offer more, but it's a crazy end of the year, as you can imagine. A lot of people are wanting to get in alignment, which is awesome. Okay, so let's talk about Venus being in Scorpio at this new moon, total solar eclipse, conjunct Juno, which we just had a new moon with Juno conjunct the new moon. And so the fact that Juno is conjunct with Venus at the time of this new moon means that if we commit to doing things from a place of love, if we commit to really being okay with our desires, really releasing any conditioning that makes us think that we can't have what we want, that we can't, we can't possibly have anything more than the lesser of two evils, like that BS thinking needs to go. And so this is this new opportunity to bring in like that which we desire, that which we truly hope to see in the world. And we also are coming into a crazy, amazing conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn that is exact on the 21st of December. So at the time of the new moon, both those planets are still in their final degree. We call it the archaic degree of, and it's going to feel that way. Like literally when we have Saturn in its home sign in Capricorn on the final degree, which we have from the 7th of December, and that's what I was saying, that 7th of December, like take notice, like that is a day to just be aware, maybe stay home, take good care. 7th of December to the 17th of December, when we have that 29th degree Saturn, that's intense. Like that is heavy lifting. And so even though this new total solar eclipse, it has the opportunity to clear out a lot, there is this still this pull on a lot of us of that heaviness of that, like, no, we can't have what we want, and we do need to fight, and we do need to struggle, and we do need to be in our victim perpetrator thinking. So really just be aware of whatever that looks like for you and the healing that needs to happen there, because graduation point is December 21st, and I've been saying that for a while. And so we really want to prepare ourselves and be present, be with the energy that is right now within ourselves. And this total solar eclipse is providing us with this total new way of learning, growing, shifting, and expanding. And it's really amazing to me how much that we just think our growth ends when we reach a certain age. And that's not true. We're always growing, shifting, and changing. And so this new moon really gives us the opportunity to see that and to see how far we've come and to see where we want to go in the next year. Uranus is still going to be conjunct Black Moon Lilith at the new moon, and it's going to be still retrograde. So we're still doing that work, and that is all amazing. So one of the things about that is, again, tapping into that feminine energy around the December 14th eclipse is going to be very soothing, because it is a lot of masculine energy and it's a lot of heavy lifting energy. So just reminders to self-care, reminders to keep showing up for yourself in a way that's going to help you expand versus make you contract. And even if that's like simply just drinking more water. Okay, other things that I want to tell you about is that on December 15th, right after that the solar eclipse, which a solar eclipse is a new moon eclipse. It's when the sun and the moon are in the same degree, and they are in Sagittarius for that. Venus moves into Sagittarius the day after. So it's like literally in those last few degrees of Scorpio at the time of the new moon eclipse. And then it moves into Sag. On December 16th, Saturn moves into Aquarius. So that will be a big opportunity to freedom. And then December 19th, Jupiter moves into Aquarius. And then we have that conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn on the solar eclipse, which is why I'm hosting Solar Powered on the solar eclipse. So, okay. Thank you guys so much for being here. And if you missed the first part, you can go back and listen. And I hope you have a beautiful day.